Look at this, family. I want you to check out this passage. We had a conversation last week, and it really touches on how religion, like the origin of religion in human society. So this is from this book called Temples of Karnak, and this is the chapter on myth, page 23. So it says, myth is generally taken to mean an account of the exploits, adventures, or avatars of fabled personages composing a pantheon. Strictly speaking, however, myth must be seen as a symbol of a theogony. It is a symbol inasmuch as it incarnates cosmic functions in human form. Consequently, through images, it evokes the functional principles of the universal law governing the becoming of things, the genesis of that which, from the human point of view, appears to be the effect of an absolute cause variously known as devas, theos, or God, and called in ancient Egypt neter neteru, the principle of principles. Myth is therefore the anthropomorphization of the elements of philosophy, and its understanding as such presupposes a knowledge of the natural bases laid down as premises. Since it is man who judges and thinks the principles of the universe, he concretizes them into human form, which is natural evolution at its highest known state. As a finality of nature, the human being necessarily epitomizes all the phases of this becoming and can be thus regarded as a representative of the universe. Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and the gods. It was written at Delphi. This thought has served as the foundation for all revelations concerning the secrets of becoming and the return of being to its source. There are two aspects of this conception of myth. The first gives a human nature to cosmic principles by attributing to this symbolization ordinary human feelings and reactions. This lends historic character to myth. The second and typically pharaonic aspect is simply an anthropomorphization of those principles. Although represented in human form, human feelings are not attributed to them. It is a kind of synthesis between fable and myth in order to give life to certain typical qualities that are universal, although they can only be shown in the restricted aspect. The poet chooses among the animals those incarnating those qualities most accurately. Then he makes them speak and behave in the manner of men. In this case, we are not concerned with historiosity, but with pure symbol. Pharaonic myth combines fable and anthropomorphization into a perfect natural symbol to express a knowledge concerning life's secrets. It does not situate in time events that in reality are constant, but it does, on the other hand, situate them in space, that is to say, in situ, taking into account a natural concordance, such as orientation, surroundings, and symbiosis. Accordingly, three main centers are found, each revealing the mystery of creation under a different form. Heliopolis, Memphis, and Thebes, and each province or nome has its own particular cult with its local neter, its myth and legend. So now he's going to talk about the Assyrian myth. That's the Asar, right? So the Assyrian myth, which reigned on earth at the beginning of time, signs each site with one of its episodes. It is by the mouth of Tanis that the coffin of Osiris, murdered by his brother Seth, was washed into the sea. It is the Coptos that, through the celestial winds, Isis learned of the death of her spouse, and it is with Byblos that she found the sarcophagus of Osiris, around which a marvelous tree had grown, and it is the marshes of the delta that Wajet, the female divinity of the north. Sorry, I'm trying to get focus. All right. The female divinity of the north secretly raised the young child Horus, who was later to engage in interminable combat against Seth in order to reconquer his father's heritage. When Isis brought back the coffin of her husband, Seth dismembered the body of Osiris, flinging the pieces into the Nile, which dispersed them throughout the land. But Isis recovered every part of the Neter's body. She presented each different part as a relic to the different temples of Egypt, and thus every spot is consecrated by the relic it received or the myth connected with it. And but again, my main interest right here is over here, where this is something that I articulated in my books, and also I can admit I've read was articulated by Odwirafo, right? But essentially, the anthropomorphization of of philosophy in a sense, right here. Anthropomorphization of the elements of philosophy, or I would say science, but the same, right? Uh, this is the origin of most religious systems, right? Until you get to the anti-scientific or the ascientific of the Abrahamics. But it's in essence, when we discuss whether ancient Africans were religious or spiritual, or how they viewed God, and how they viewed so on and so forth, right? You see realistically the right here the nature or the principle of principles, i.e., um, again, how we are essentially taking these terms and applying it to this term, when this term is actually more so regarding the anthropomorphization of philosophy, and these terms aren't. Anyway, just thought I'd share that, for a conversation, and so on and so forth. Appreciation.